No matter how much I like one particular woman, I find myself distracted by the many beautiful women in the world. There are countless varieties, types, and personalities. I sometimes feel the urge to explore different options. Have you ever felt the same way? What has your experience been with the temptation of variety in your love life? Story 1. You discover that a relationship with the woman who shares your highest values is better for you than relationships with women who do not. Story 2. Sure, there are more attractive, more successful, funnier, and more interesting women out there, but none of them are her. I have no desire for variety because I found one who checks every single box I could think of and some that I didn't know existed. Story 3. Host a large cookout, invite your crushes, invite all your exes, invite your partner and your partner's former lovers, and then have a massive gathering so that everyone experiences a variety that they will never need again. Story 4. With the right partner, boredom can become enjoyable. A relationship is not meant to be dull. There is no excitement in doing chores and raising children. However, when you love someone, these activities become tolerable and perhaps even enjoyable. Story 5. There will always be better-looking people than your partner. However, I value loyalty and time invested. Will those women support you during a time of great tragedy? Will they be there for you when you are down on your luck? Were they there when you had nothing and were on your climb to success? I will always choose someone who was there during the tough times because it shows they will stand by you no matter what. Those beautiful women may come along, but how many will truly stay if you stumble? Story 6. I spent years dealing with variety, and what I found was chaos, drama, and strange undertones that left me feeling overwhelmed. I have to admit that when I finally met a wonderful woman, those experiences helped me appreciate her every day of my life. Story 7. How much have you actually tried out? There is a significant difference between normal feelings from being inexperienced and having a body count of 100, and it's still not being enough. Story 8. Every choice you make means you forgo an alternative. I choose to be loyal and accept what I will not have. I chose to work at a regular job, giving up the life of a vagabond or starting a business. I live in my city, therefore I gave up living in others. There are many places to explore. Story 9. I believe there is some maturing needed here. Go out and create some exciting stories. Once you are done, settle down with someone you can spend your life with. Do not cheat, and do not ask for open relationships, as it wastes your time and the other person's time. Story 10. One of my favorite things about being with my girlfriend is not having to try to get dates anymore. It is amazing how much work you have to put in just to receive the smallest amount of attention. I always have my girlfriend's attention, and I would not trade that for any of the beautiful women in the world. Story 11. By realizing that many of them are not what they seem, we should remember never to judge a book by its cover. Since we are in a gaming world now, we should also never judge a video game by its graphics. Story 12. I keep reminding myself that my wife loves me at my lowest point, and I sincerely doubt that someone else would. I have had some awkward medical issues, but my wife still loves me and wants to be intimate with me, so I will never give that up for a chance with anyone else. Story 13. An ADHD spouse has resolved many of those challenges. She has various interests and hobbies throughout the day, making her feel like several different individuals, and they all want to engage with me. We have been married for 16 years. Story 14. I remember that my girlfriend is my best friend, has my best interests in mind, and would do anything for me as I would for her. She is the ideal partner I have searched for. My impulsiveness does not override common sense. Together, we are successful individuals making our way. Story 15. If you are with the right person, you do not need variety. The problem is that many individuals are in what I call transitional relationships. Story 16. I'm an introvert. I dislike meeting new people or engaging in superficial social interactions. I have no interest in multiple sexual partners. Story 17. Of course, there's always going to be a beautiful woman, but you just have to think with your mind instead of being driven by desire and remember all the good things about your relationship. Story 18. If I feel an urge to cheat, I break up with the woman I am with because she clearly is not what I need. Story 19. When I was young, I wasn't sure. But now, I am much happier with one woman to share my life with. When you find the right one, all the other options just don't seem so appealing. Story 20. It's like this for me. I met my dream girl in college. I was smart enough to treat her right, and we got married. It's been 20 years, and I've never thought about the grass being greener or trying different girls. I already have my perfect person. Who would compare? Nobody. I've heard men say that behind every attractive woman is a man who is tired of being with her. Nonsense. They must have been in it for the physical aspect only. Sure, other women look good to me, but so do cars, dogs, kids, trees, the sunset, and flowers. Just because I appreciate the aesthetic of something doesn't mean I want to be with it. I can't imagine any woman being better for me than my wife. I wouldn't even want to try. Until you reach that level of intimacy, you won't understand. Story 21. No, I don't. Human beings are not commodities for seeking sexual pleasure. What you need to do is stop treating women as a means to an end. When you treat them as valuable individuals, you will see how immature this attitude is. Story 22. I don't see it as an urge for variety. I want to be able to understand each relationship with the people in my life individually, rather than being tied to the idea that if you connect with someone romantically or sexually, you cannot do so with anyone else, which never made sense to me. At this point in my life, I feel happier and more fulfilled in my relationships than I ever have, including the romantic ones. My time and energy are well spent on people who treat me well and love me for who I am, regardless of romantic feelings. There were many times in my life when that was not the case. Whether monogamous or not, I believe it's important to have a broader network of meaningful connections than many people allow themselves to have. While exploring sex and romance in a non-monogamous way can be wonderful, I found that the most significant aspect is the connection with other human beings who will love and support you. Story 23. Talking with the single people in my office and among my friends who are navigating different dating experiences reminds me how grateful I am to be happily married and not dating. Story 24. The ability to prioritize long-term happiness over short-term gratification is important. Once you have filet mignon on your plate, it is much easier to look at your neighbor's sirloin and think, doesn't look bad, but what I have is better. Story 25. By loving my partner more than just their appearance or how they perform in bed. When you are taught to only cherish your partner, the idea of being with other people dissipates quickly. Note that I did not say you have to be perfect and ignore every woman who is not your girlfriend or wife, but lingering on this question reveals unfaithfulness deep down. People who say it's just a fantasy or I'm not going to act upon it are misguided and would likely seek other people if monogamy were not mainstream. Story 26. That is not strictly a male thing. Stop watching pornography. It distorts your arousal template, leading you to crave more variety that ultimately leaves you unsatisfied. Story 27. Grow up. Mature. Learn what love is. Have integrity and loyalty. Find the person who will make you happy and inspire your loyalty and integrity. Use all your willpower to honor those ideals. Story 28. I was in a polyamorous relationship for 6 years and experienced a variety of connections. But now I am thrilled to be in a monogamous relationship, and my attention remains focused. I appreciate that I had my exploration phase because it has made me feel more secure in my current relationship. I have experienced many options, and I found that they were not necessarily better. Story 29. Average individuals can be easily tempted. Higher quality individuals know what they want, achieve their goals, and are content with their lives. I can only imagine how chaotic and drama-filled the lives of average people can be. Story 30. Introduce her to cosplay by purchasing stylish outfits. It makes things enjoyable and is affordable. You can find many cute outfits at low prices on various online platforms. Story. For me, it is simply a cost-benefit analysis. Gaining the variety you speak of means divorce, sharing custody of a child, creating new living arrangements, experiencing a significant sense of guilt over family betrayal, potential sexually transmitted diseases, and the possibility of additional drama if a woman has a complicated past or an ex-boyfriend who could cause problems. It is just not worth it. Story 32. Maybe monogamy isn't for you, but for someone who is monogamous, I still experience the same urges and impulses. It's discipline, that's all. I am approached by women every day, but discipline is what prevents me from acting on those urges. Temptation never stops. There will always be someone funnier and more attractive than your partner. Story 33. Not a popular piece of advice, but I understand what you mean. Open relationships do exist. For example, my partner and I have an open relationship. Sometimes she sees other women, and sometimes we explore together. It works well for us. If you feel a strong desire, consider trying it out. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but I recommend changing your perspective. Not everyone is suited for this approach. It can be a simpler way to navigate relationships. Good luck. Story 34. Go all in. At some point, you'll realize it's not worth it to leave the woman you're with. It has to be a choice you want to make. Perhaps date the most random people you can over the next few years until you shift your perspective. Story 35. Many people believe that this won't happen with the right person, but that is not true for everyone. It may be a reality that some individuals are less monogamous than others. You can be very committed and intimate with someone without being exclusive in a more traditional sense. I believe some individuals experience a shift in this perspective upon meeting the right person. It is also possible to incorporate variety in a monogamous relationship in a way that satisfies this desire. Additionally, some individuals have the capacity to commit deeply and genuinely to more than one person. Story 36. In my case, having been married for a long time, I am not getting any intimacy, so I can just imagine being in a relationship with all the beautiful women in the world, without experiencing intimacy with any of them either. Story 37. To everyone who thinks that the individual should just get it out of his system and then be monogamous, what if he is bisexual and just wants to hook up with men? Most monogamous people I know will make an exception for this for reasons I don't understand. Story 38. There are many factors at play, making it hard to pinpoint one. First, consider your relationship with your significant other. In my positive relationships, I never wanted to be with anyone else. Conversely, in the negative ones, I felt so down that I didn't want to be with anyone at all. Next, think about how you feel about your sex life with your partner. Mismatched drives can be a significant issue. When you share similar drives and satisfy each other regularly, it's difficult to understand why you'd want someone else. Another consideration is how you would feel if your partner cheated or, with your knowledge, slept with other people. Monogamy isn't for everyone, and sometimes people need and want variety despite how good their partner is. If this resonates with you, it could be worth exploring further. Lastly, reflect on your relationship with pornography. The negative effects of pornography are well documented and can contribute to the oversexualization of both men and women. If you start viewing women as mere objects for sexual gratification, it's important to pause and examine whether this perspective is beneficial for you and those around you. Story 39. Looks and variety are overrated. Appearance fades over time, and with variety often comes complications and drama that are undesirable. Having a partner who offers both love and intimacy is far more fulfilling. Story 40. I used to be like you. I lost a couple of good friends along the way and eventually discovered it wasn't worth it anymore. I think part of it has to do with a natural drop in your testosterone levels as you age. I might guess you're quite young. Story 41. Honestly, age. When I was young, I sometimes had thoughts about wanting to pursue various women and be free, so to speak. However, at my current age, I no longer have the desire to sleep around. Even as a single man, I would prefer to have one partner rather than engage in casual relationships. Story 42. Sacrifice is a part of the human struggle, regardless of who you are or where you are in life. I would love to eat some donuts right now, but I know it's not the best choice. I would also love to pursue that woman, but I understand it's not the best path. Discipline allows you to play the long game in everything you do. That's how you win. Story 43. When you grow up, you'll realize that an amazing relationship with a woman who loves you is better than random encounters. Story 44. Do not enter monogamous relationships if you do not want to be monogamous. Be clear about your desires and intentions. Story 45. Oh, I absolutely feel that way from time to time, and it can be quite distracting, honestly. Every time I take a walk anywhere, my mind wanders about unknown potentialities and unfulfilled scenarios. A nice conversation can send me daydreaming, but it's always firmly a dream that I'm glad to wake up from. These thoughts usually occupy me for only a few seconds or minutes or a few hours at most, and then I remember two things. First and foremost, how it would feel to be on the receiving end of such fantasies, namely how I'd feel if I learned my girlfriend had them too. That is quite sobering in itself. Secondly, I think back to the times when I was dating attractive women frequently. My record was dating 8 different women during roughly the span of a year. These are the ones that lasted for at least a few weeks and at most a few months, where we had something more substantial going on than just dates. I hated it. I didn't date so many women because I wanted to. I dated so many because none of them really worked out for me. The constant rounds of perfunctory introductions, returning to the basics, and the repetitive breakups starting anew every few months became really tedious fast. All I wanted was someone stable and steady, something serious, not flings. Flings are fun the first 2 or 3 times, but after a while you should look for a quality change, not just a simple reskin. Yes, there are lots of really attractive women out there, but half of them are boring, and the other half are incompatible for various reasons. When you finally find your person, it's normal to miss what you gave up, but it's very important to remind yourself of how much you wanted what you now have, and how your life wouldn't be an endless stream of joy and happiness without it. Story 46. The true intimacy gained is worth more than all the variety in the world. My wife is more than a sexual partner. She is my right hand. She is my best friend. She is my business partner. Most importantly, she is the mother of our family. She has seen me at my best, and she has seen me at my worst. She saw me come close to losing everything back in 2013. She was there when I crawled out of the pit of self-pity. She was there when I finally got my feet under me and started moving forward again. Now we have a house, a family, and 2 well-paying jobs. Additionally, we just started a business part-time that will hopefully replace the need for at least her job, if not both of ours. Story 47. I believe that some of us are not meant to settle down with just one person. We should live our lives with variety and enjoyment. Story 48. I don't have that urge. Maybe to look around, but never to be with anyone. I think my partner knows when I glance, but she never says anything. I hope it's because she knows there is literally not one woman in the world I'd rather be with. Story 49. Polyamory involves finding people you are interested in who also share your values, allowing you to explore the desire for variety with their consent and support. Story 50. I have never felt that way in my life. Perhaps you should consider exploring ethical, non-monogamous relationships, as it seems you may not be suited for monogamy. Story 51. I have an open marriage that has been strong for more than 10 years. Time flies. Finding a woman who is open to this can allow you to enjoy both sides of your life. The key to finding someone is being honest about your relationship. Do not deceive people, lie, or pretend to be someone you are not. You appreciate being in an open relationship because you desire variety. One day, you will meet someone who shares your perspective. Story 52. You realize that just because a woman is attractive, it doesn't mean she is a good match or a good partner. You can become content and happy with the woman you are in a relationship with. The rest are only momentary fantasies without any substance, and even those fade with time. Story 53. I really like flirting. My wife leans more towards being lesbian than straight on her bisexuality scale. She wasn't aware of this when we got together, but I explained open relationships, and we both agreed to it. Most of the time, we're both too lazy to actually go so far as to hook up with others, but having the option and talking to other people is something we both enjoy. Story 54. What? Life isn't a Lifetime movie where every guy is the love interest's boyfriend at the beginning. You know, the typical scumbag you're supposed to hate because he's obviously not right for her. That's just not how the real world is 99% of the time. It's much more mundane, where people are generally content if they have a good partner in a healthy relationship. Obviously, outliers and bad relationships exist, but their dysfunction isn't because every man wants multiple women. You may notice this a bit more in younger men who are delusional, somewhat naive in a youthful way, and filled with unspent energy. However, most well-adjusted people learn to tone it down as they get older and wiser. If you want to be intimate with a variety of people, then that is essentially why the sex work industry exists. Story 55. There are many vegetables. Do you try all of them? Or do you stick with what you like, know, and feel comfortable with? Story 56. I love everything about my partner. She is the one I want to be with forever. However, I have always had a desire to be intimate with a black woman. I can't shake that feeling no matter how hard I try, and it is difficult to cope with. Story 57. You turn about 14 and are mature enough to understand that the variety of appearance is worth much less than the solidity of character. Story 58. You might not be suited for monogamous relationships. Explore dating and casual encounters to truly understand what you want. Monogamy doesn't work for me either. When women ask me to commit, I usually say I can't because it doesn't suit me, and then I start dating again. Honestly, I am happier doing this than in any of my previous monogamous relationships. Don't let people pressure you into monogamy if you need variety. Story 59. The only real way to understand relationships is to prepare for an onslaught of "you have to find the right one" responses. The truth is, we aren't built for monogamy. We settle for it when one person intrigues us more than the others. However, it doesn't stop the biological urge to pursue multiple partners. Story 60. I realize it's not worth the headache. I like intimacy, but I don't enjoy dating. Every person you connect with can be a potential liability, and it's time-consuming. I'm usually busy and live with my significant other, who is essentially a stay-at-home partner. This makes logistics difficult even though I am allowed to step out under certain conditions. One of those conditions is no contact. Even if I engage in activities on the side and my partner says it's okay, I can tell she's not truly comfortable with it and only offered it to make me happy. I also need to find someone who is okay with being on the side, which will be difficult, or I have to be dishonest. After the act is done, I realize it wasn't really that deep. It's pretty much the same outcome with extra steps and a bunch of potential complications. Story 61. Maybe you're just not ready to settle down and be with one person. Perhaps polyamory or an open relationship would work better for you. Story 62. I would say that if you are still wanting to go out and experience things, then you haven't found the one yet. My numbers are surprisingly high. I didn't pursue it to experience things. In fact, there are still experiences I would like to have. However, I did it because, after years of abuse and bullying, it gave me confidence and made me feel attractive. Now I am with my wife, and I couldn't care less what else is out there. If it's brought to my attention for one reason or another, I appreciate it, but it doesn't go further than that because my wife meets all the criteria I need. Hope that helps. Story 63. I do not get tired of the same woman. What usually happens is that my desire to continue having sex regularly never slows, while theirs does. Story 64. Date women who like women as well. I go out, flirt, and hang out. If one of those women is truly interested, my girlfriend takes the lead, and I take a supportive role, then we switch. Story 65. Just understand that when you argue with her through text, you're actually engaging with a variety of perspectives on the topic. Story 66. I was relieved I wouldn't be trying out any more variety when I entered my relationship. With variety comes stress, drama, and trauma. I prefer stability. Story 67. I experienced this myself. It is entirely a personal matter in that you may be unclear about who you want to be or how you see yourself, or you might simply be eclectic and not interested in defining yourself too narrowly. Either way, it is not a problem that requires a variety of women to solve. You can be happy with just one partner, as long as that partner is also eclectic so you can explore together. Your solution does not have to be sexually motivated. You could have different friends for different activities. Story 68. You value your partner's feelings over the urge to pursue others. You may notice beautiful women, but you recognize them as off-limits and behave accordingly. Story 69. I believe everyone should date around when they're younger, especially during college. That said, I approach any crush by enjoying it and potentially sharing it with my partner so she can tease me about my clear type. Story 70. Comparison is the thief of joy. Get off social media and make an effort to avoid compromising situations. You will always desire and be attracted to other women, and anyone can cheat if they find themselves in the wrong circumstances. However, if you value your relationship and your significant other, you will not. I naturally have a wandering eye and a thing for women who seem to like me back. Yet, it's a conscious choice to not dwell on those feelings or seek them out. I remind myself to stop when I begin to fall into the trap of developing crushes or flirting, which I tend to do. Choosing a partner who you find very attractive also helps. Of course, you will still find other women appealing, but when you are strongly attracted to your partner, it makes it easier to stay focused. Try new things in the bedroom as well. Go to the store together, experiment, keep dating each other, have intimate moments in new locations, rent a bed and breakfast or hotel, role play, and have fun. Spend time apart. Go away for a weekend with friends or do something enjoyable alone, and allow her to do the same. As the saying goes, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Stay attractive for each other. Exercise, eat healthily, groom yourself, and maintain your attractiveness for one another. Story 71. I arrived here by clicking on a person's profile to see their comments. I was pleasantly surprised and moved by the rest of the comments. My faith in humanity has been restored. Thank you, everyone. Story 72. I'm this way with virtual YouTubers. My favorite changes every few weeks. I can't see myself applying that to real people, though. Then again, my friend group hasn't really changed much since elementary school. Story 73. I'm the exact opposite. I greatly prefer having only one person that I can completely trust and be open with. That person is my wife. When we trust each other completely and have the openness to talk about anything, kinks, fantasies, and similar topics, without fear of judgment, it's incredibly fulfilling. Through our discussions, we discovered that my wife is bisexual. So my wife and I have girlfriends. It's like having your cake and eating it too. I personally enjoy filming. It's quite exciting. I have a collection of adult films that I use for personal enjoyment, and my wife and I include our girlfriend when we have one. Story 74. I find a wide variety of body types attractive, but I have learned from experience that it takes more than just physical attraction for me to enjoy a relationship. Someone who loves me the way I am and is a close friend will always be more meaningful to me than a new body type I have not experienced before. Story 75. I remember the last time I was single and could experience everything I wanted, and how most of it was disappointing. Story 76. Attractive women will always exist. I have been with a decent number of women over the years. Sex is not automatically better just because a woman has a great body. While it is visually appealing, the actual feeling of being with someone you connect with emotionally and mentally, who makes you feel whole and shares your intimacy and love, is far superior to any fleeting attraction. Spending your life with your best friend is much more appealing in every capacity. When I was with my ex, who was my first serious relationship lasting over 5 years, if I saw another attractive woman, I would think, she's pretty, and move on. You should not jeopardize something good just because someone else is attractive. Story 77. My wife and I have this effective method that works wonderfully. What we do, and I know this may sound outrageous, but hear me out. We communicate with each other. Story 78. I kept things casual when I felt that way. After years of casual hookups and dates without serious relationships, those feelings faded, and my outlook changed. I would advise against stringing someone along if that's not what you really want. You will both be happier for it. Story 79. Glorious selective plate knee growth pause birds truck flag narrow. Story 80. They may be beautiful, but not as beautiful as sunsets and rainbows. My girl is the only one who is attractive to me. It literally just happened like that. Story 81. You discover the woman you love and are most compatible with, marry her, have children with her, and then you will not have time or energy left to think about other women. Story 82. I was in this mindset for a long time, dating many women but not committing due to fear of missing out. Now that I'm in a serious relationship, those thoughts occasionally arise, and I realize they are nothing more than curiosity. My girlfriend is beautiful, smart, outgoing, sociable, and a hard worker. She possesses all the amazing traits I've been looking for. Why would I want to jeopardize my relationship and hurt her by seeking variety? At the end of the day, you must wait until you find someone who makes you appreciate what you have. If you haven't found that person yet, she is out there. But don't ruin it when you do find her. Story 83. No, if anything, if my relationship ends, I am just not going to bother dating again. I have ticked all the boxes except for marriage. Story 84. I see two options. Either avoid entering a relationship and engage in casual encounters, or find someone who also embraces a polyamorous lifestyle. Story 85. Honestly, I had to get it out of my system before I could settle down. I tried several relationships and kept having the same problem. Now I know what I want and no longer have the what if feeling. Story 86. When you seek ways to feel fulfilled, you may discover a certain kind of inner balance. This balance reduces the urge to roam after feelings, and the rush of dopamine ceases to exist. Story 87. Mostly individuals will either 1. Grow up and find joy in their relationships that compensates for the diminishing sexual excitement over time. Cheat discreetly from time to time and handle the consequences if they are caught. Stay single or engage in multiple monogamous relationships. Find a partner who accepts occasional infidelity. Each option has its positives and negatives, and there is no secret that eliminates the trade-offs. Story 88. Consider if an open relationship or a polyamorous relationship is right for you, as there is a difference between the two. This lifestyle is not for everyone, as it requires honesty with yourself and your partners along with significant emotional evaluation regarding your needs and responsibilities. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask me. Story 89. It also helps if the woman you are with has a compatible sex drive and maintains a reasonable level of fitness. In other words, do not waste your time with people who do not have healthy habits. Story 90. A deep relationship with a woman that incorporates the highest level of trust and honesty often limits choices due to personal conflict if actions are taken against it. Story 91. My boyfriend uses an analogy. I enjoy visiting the museum to appreciate the art, but that doesn't mean I try to take it all home with me. Story 92. Stop watching pornography. It is harmful to you and not in your best interest. It is designed to make you consume and spend money. Story 93. I have only been with my current partner. We have known each other since high school, and we are 25 years old. She has had multiple partners, and it sometimes crosses my mind to seek variety. The only thing that holds me back is my understanding of what she has been through, and I love her deeply. Story 94. If you watch adult content, stop watching it. Detox from it for several months. You might realize that the compulsion fades away. Story 95. If this is a recurring issue rather than a rare occurrence, I would suggest that you are not dating someone who is attractive enough to keep your interest. I say this assuming you do not watch adult content or engage in other activities that might distort your view of women and dating in general. I personally appreciate all the wonderful things she does for me. Story 96. You can still make friends. Just don't engage in inappropriate behavior. If you can't go out with a woman without the primary intention being a romantic relationship, then perhaps you should reflect on that aspect of your personality. If that's not the issue, then you simply haven't found the right person yet. When it's time to commit, this isn't even a question. Story 97. When I was with a girl I considered a 10, I never thought about other girls. When I was with a girl I wasn't as attracted to, I always thought about this. Now I'm single and exploring various ethnicities and hair colors. Story 98. Personally, I don't need variety in sex, which is the only variety this could be referencing. Any other form of variety can be fulfilled through friendships and your personal relationship with yourself and the universe. In my opinion, no sex is better than sex with someone you fully connect with and understand the ins and outs of what they like. Story 99. I discussed this openly with my partner from the beginning of our relationship, and she agreed. We do not have an open relationship, but we are allowed to be attracted to others and act on it as long as we communicate openly. I believe it is inevitable. Negotiation and communication are the keys to success in a long-term relationship. Story 100. I treated every woman I was with as disposable because I saw no value in them. Then I met my wife and everything changed. I knew she was the one I wanted to keep. Story 101. You only need variety if you don't know what you want. If you're young and feel the need to explore, you can do so. Just make sure the other person understands your intentions and avoid involving those who are committed to you. Story 102. Get it out of your system before settling down. I have traveled a lot and been with many women. Now I have a girlfriend and have no interest in anyone else. A deep bond and intimacy are more important to me now. Story 103. I cannot take credit for this, but I will restate it here. Nothing fades faster than lust and passion. If you are going to go through life continually chasing that high, so be it. Just know that almost all the time it will be a fleeting experience, and you will likely end up lonely, either between relationships or, more realistically, as you get older. Undoubtedly, it is exciting and fun to be with someone new, but recognize that it cannot last at that level. That is where having a committed partner with shared ideals, interests, and care replaces all that superficial and shallow experience. Story 104. I don't have this problem. It helps that I don't seem to develop crushes or attraction to people in general unless I actively think of them that way. I also don't experience fear of missing out. Once I'm happy, I don't care to look for more. Story 105. One of the best lines I heard comes from the movie High Fidelity. The fantasy never delivers. You may think it would be better with another woman because she looks attractive. But truthfully, she has dirty dishes, unopened mail, a cat that misbehaves, and family that annoys her, just like your girlfriend does. You can only keep the fantasy alive if you never progress beyond the first 1 or 2 phases of a relationship. Story 106. Women are not objects. If treated as such, expect to also be treated as such. It is concerning that some men are more loyal and devoted to their dogs than to women. This is a fundamentally flawed perspective. It is an issue you need to address. Fix it, or you will remain unsatisfied indefinitely. Story 107. When I was a teenager in my 20s, it was about exploring and experiencing life. When I sought a serious relationship, I had to look deeply inside to understand what I truly wanted in a partner and in myself. Story 108. I once ate nothing but Kraft macaroni and cheese or top ramen noodles for dinner for 3 months straight. I don't really have an urge for variety. Story 109. You realize that women are not here for your enjoyment. They are not something you try out. They are human beings, not different flavors of candy. Story 110. Assuming we are discussing being in a committed relationship, that's not a real concept. I have never experienced that desire, and my best friends haven't either. The men in my family have not felt it, and no man of worth has either. You are either content with your partner or you are not. Alternatively, you may be in an open relationship where your wife engages with others because you do not meet her needs, or you risk becoming unfaithful. Story 111. These days, we are committed to ethical non-monogamy from the very start of relationships. I believe we all need to mature and work towards normalizing ethical non-monogamy. It would benefit individuals and represents a logical progression for our culture now that we have access to contraception and disease testing. The need for variety must be accepted. Otherwise, I end up living a lie and feeling inauthentic. I'll keep pretending I'm monogamous so that you'll love me, he says. I'll only accept you for who you really are if you pretend to be monogamous, she responds. Humans can be complex. Story 112. I might feel that way if it weren't so much work just to meet one woman I share a mutual attraction with. I can desire to try a variety of women, but that's not going to make them want me. I really don't think I would even like all those types of women. I have a fairly narrow preference that I get along with. Sometimes I think I would rather be dating men. I mostly appreciate the female body but could do without many stereotypical feminine personality traits. Story 113. I am also wondering about this. For me, it is not even about who the third person would be. I do not desire any one individual over my wife, and I rarely fantasize about specific women I know or see. Simply the thought of variety in any way, shape, or form excites me tremendously. I just want to experience different things with different people. Years ago, I was under the impression that I thought that was how it worked at the time. To nobody's surprise, she did not go for it, but I meant what I told her when I said the third person could be anyone, and I would give her full control over finding someone she was comfortable with and trusted. I purely crave variety and am still not sure how to be okay without it. Story 114. This is actually a good question. The general desire will always exist. As we get older, we acquire the ability to weigh our options and make thoughtful, logical decisions. At some point, you realize the repercussions of relationships with another woman and the risk of losing a good woman. Story 115. Pretty sure everyone feels this way. Just relieve yourself and put those thoughts to rest for a couple of hours. Story 116. This is interesting as my main advice to younger men is to try as many experiences as possible. I too at times wonder how we stay committed to one person for the rest of our lives. Then I realize that the intimacy with someone you truly love is far more impactful than the feelings of attraction. I can find appeal anywhere, but it's fleeting. Even the most attractive individuals I encounter make me realize that their personal baggage is likely not worth it. However, if I ever become single again, I will treat the dating scene like an ice cream shop and try all the options. I say that, but there's no substitute for love and the sense of comfort. Story 117. I am in my mid-30s and have a lot of experience. Personally, I cannot see myself committing to one woman. I enjoy variety in all aspects of my life, including romance. My perspective may differ from others, as I am good-looking and have never had difficulty finding interested partners. Story 118. This is normal. Men evolved an innate desire for sexual novelty and multiple partners. Quantity matters to men in a way that it does not to women. A man who sleeps with thousands of women can have his genes passed on thousands of times. A woman who sleeps with thousands of men can still only have a few children. I use adult content to trick my primal instincts into thinking it is as if I am with numerous women. It works well enough. Story 119. In my opinion, monogamy for men is a myth, a social construct, and a societal expectation that has existed for thousands of years. The vast majority of men do not experience validation and happiness in the same way women do. Variety, rather than commitment, is often seen as the measure of success. I am not suggesting that one approach fits all. I have known men who have settled down, love their partners, and have children. However, imposing that lifestyle on every man and labeling it as the norm is misleading. Know yourself and plan accordingly. Story 120. I believe you are experiencing the instinct that human males possess, through genetics and evolution, to seek a variety of partners to ensure the survival of the species. However, that is a hollow existence compared to a long and meaningful relationship with a good woman. You will know when you find it. Story 121. I would say after about 4 relationships, I am ready for a new partner. It is like getting a new car. Yes, my new car is awesome, and I spend most of my time driving it. However, every once in a while, I want to try something different. Story 122. A man's value in the sexual marketplace tends to increase with age and success, often extending into his 60s and beyond. A woman's value in this context peaks between the ages of 23 and 26, then declines as she ages, primarily due to a decrease in fertility, particularly if she has children with another man. In such cases, this decline can be significant. This phenomenon is influenced by biology and practical considerations. No rational man wants to take on the responsibilities and emotional challenges associated with raising another man's child. Story 123. Our evolutionary role is to provide genetic diversity. Anything other than that is counter to nature. Story 124. For me, it was being promiscuous from ages 18 to 23, gathering experiences like a soldier in World War II. I settled down and raised my child, and it was a good 22 years except for the last two. Being involuntarily celibate in any relationship is a sure way to ruin it, and it did. I met an amazing woman a year and a half ago, and she made me want no one else again. However, she evidently had different thoughts, so I am now trying to recover from something I dreamed would last forever and exploring many options to find the right fit again. There is something to be said for exploring the dating scene, but when you find that connection between intellect, personality, and an overall vibe, everything is better than with anyone else, and you aren't afraid to open up and give your all. That is truly the best. Story 125. What do you mean try? I feel like once you have had a few intimate or long-term relationships, this doesn't really interest you anymore. By 18, I felt like I had already tried everything. Now at 24, I don't really care for variety. Because 90% of the time, what you want in another woman will never match what you have in your woman. This doesn't change the fact that they can still be attractive, but you can only get so much variety until you know what you want. It sounds to me like you're either inexperienced or really young, or you simply want to be polyamorous, which isn't wrong. A single woman with a good personality who is right for you beats a million without personality who aren't good for you. Coming from someone who has experienced many relationships, I now only care for one woman. Having someone who is there for you will diminish any urge to want someone else or more. Story 126. The grass is always going to be greener on the other side. People often get caught up in the fear of missing out and end up spending their lives chasing fleeting highs. Save yourself a lot of time and suffering. Learn to gain control over your thoughts and feelings. Learn to be grateful for what you have. Learn to find genuine fulfillment in life. When you reach your deathbed, what will you really regret? Not having slept with enough different women? Would it bother you to be alone on your deathbed? What happens when you inevitably get older and start to lose your looks? Do you want a partner who loves you for who you are, or one who loves you for your money or status? Consider those times in life when we feel extra lonely and sad, when friends and family members pass away, or when life hurts so much that we wish to end it. Would you want someone by your side then? Perhaps these things do not concern you, and you'd be content living your life that way. To each their own. However, these are the thoughts that I personally reflect on when I feel tempted by the allure of greener grass. Story 127. The moral answer is to manage those urges and remind yourself of your partner. The more realistic answer is to engage in self-pleasure and then let it go, knowing you are loved by someone. The way you expressed your thoughts suggests you might have cheated in the past, so I recommend considering whether long-term relationships are right for you. If you do stay in long-term relationships, be mindful of your high sex drive, as it could lead to infidelity. If you are not unfaithful, self-pleasure and moving on is my advice. If you experience future issues causing psychological distress related to your libido or your romantic partner, consider seeking therapy to help you understand what you truly want in life and what path is best for you. Good luck. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.